AI never sleeps and I can't keep up anymore.
We finally have a VO3 competitor. This is a video generator with audio natively built in. DeepSeek gets an upgrade, and Google's Gemini also gets an upgrade. Plus, OpenAI releases a new ChatGPT feature. Alibaba releases a ton of bangers, including a GPT-5 and Grok 4 competitor. They've also released the best vision model out there, which can do some incredible stuff, and it's open source. They've also released an open source image editor, which is just as good as Nano Banana. We have some seriously impressive humanoid robot demos, which you don't want to miss. ByteDance releases a free video generator where you can just upload a photo of anyone and make them do anything. Plus, they've released the most realistic lip-sync animator tool you can use right now. This AI can segment 3D models and reconstruct each individual part and a lot more. So let's jump right in. First up, this AI is a different way to create videos. So it's called Video from 3D, and here's how it works. This basically takes in an image of what you want to generate, plus a moving 3D model of that object or scene, and it would generate a video from that. So it's basically applying the texture and surfaces and colors from your reference style onto the 3D model. And this gives you precise camera control over how you want to move around in the scene or how the objects should move in the scene, because you're controlling this from the 3D generation. So here are some other examples for your reference. Notice that your style image doesn't have to exactly match your 3D model. It's just applying that artistic style to the 3D model. So for example, notice that the roof of the reference building is not the same as your 3D model. And also note here that you can prompt it further to add different effects to the video. So for example, you can change the season or time of day just with a simple prompt. Or you can also add visual effects such as fire, like this. Now, if you compare this with other similar tools, notice that this new one, Video from 3D, is just a lot more consistent, whereas the other tools often hallucinate a lot and they get the details wrong. So here's how it works. It would take in your reference plus, it seems like, the edge or canny map of your video, and then it would go through two different modules. The first one is this SAG module, which stands for Sparse Anchor View Generation, and this basically generates a few frames or anchor views, which it will use as references. And then it will plug these frames through this GGI module, which stands for Geometry Guided Generative In-Betweening, and this basically interpolates all the frames in between these anchor views, or basically fills in the blanks to smoothly create your final video. Anyways, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and this contains all the instructions on how to install this and run it locally on your computer. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, ByteDance releases another video generator. It's open source, so you can download it and use it on your computer. It's called Lynx, and this is basically a reference to video generator. In other words, you would upload a photo of any reference character and then with a prompt, generate any video of them doing anything. And then here are some more examples for your reference. As you can see, this one is noticeably better quality than previous competitors. You can even control really subtle expressions with your prompt. For example, here you can get him to tap buttons rapidly, then suddenly cheer and pump a fist in victory, and that's indeed what he does. It's also great at eating videos, as you can see here. Here are some other examples for your reference. As you can see, it's really good at cloning someone's face. I mean, the person in the video looks exactly like the reference photo, plus it's also very expressive and high action. So it's no longer just like slow motion portrait shots of the person. You can get them to do a lot more complex stuff like talking and expressions and hand gestures. Here are some other examples where on the top left is the input photo, and as you can see, you can generate videos of this guy doing anything you want. And you know, each photo looks exactly like him. If you want to create a video of yourself, you no longer need to film yourself doing the thing. You can just plug it through this AI and prompt it. Now here, if you compare this new Lynx with other similar tools like Phantom and Stand-In, which I've gone over on my channel before, notice that for all of these metrics, Lynx is just clearly better, including face accuracy, video quality, and prompt following. The awesome thing is they've actually released this already. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. And it's under the Apache 2 license, which has very minimal restrictions. You can even use this for commercial purposes. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Tencent Qwen just released a new 3D model segmenter called Qwen 3D Part. Now this actually consists of two different tools. One of them is called P3SAM, and this basically takes in a 3D model and first converts it into a point cloud, which is basically points that are in a 3D space which define the shape of your model. And then afterwards, it uses AI to automatically break this down into meaningful parts. So here are some examples of its output. So this is able to break this model down into meaningful parts like this. Or here's another pretty complex character, but it's able to break this down into meaningful parts, as you can see here. Here's another object, and for the most part, it's able to segment everything pretty well. And same with this one over here. Now you can see that there are still some flaws along the edges like this, but that's okay because afterwards, basically you can plug this into the second tool, which is called XPart. And this actually is in charge of generating the individual shapes for these segmented parts. And this is important because, if you just segment it, some of the parts might not be complete. For example, what would the back of this shirt look like? This data is not from the original model because the cape is covering the back of the shirt. So the point of XPart is to accurately recreate each segmented part of the model. So you can deconstruct it and edit each part further. So here are some examples of the output from XPart. You can take this segmented model and then explode it, and here is what you get. Notice that each part is very accurate and complete. Or here's another example where here is the input object. Well, we can explode this into separate complete parts like this. Or here's another example where we have this pretty complex object. Well, after plugging it through XPart, it can basically generate each individual segment into a complete object like this. The awesome thing is at the top here, they've actually released an online demo for you to try out. And the interface looks like this, and here is where you can try both P3SAM and XPart in the same interface. So let's start with P3SAM first. Here is where you would upload a 3D model to predict the segmentation. So let's input this 3D model of a Gundam and then press segment. Alright, afterwards, here is how it segmented the object. It's not completely correct, but it's not bad. And then afterwards, we need to plug it through XPart to decompose everything and generate each individual part of the model. Alright, so afterwards, here is what we get. Here are the generated parts, and here's the generated parts with bounding boxes. And then here is the exploded or decomposed object. As you can see, each part is its own thing and complete. Now, in addition to this free Hugging Face space, they've also released a GitHub repo, which looks like this. And you can click on the GitHub repo for each tool, which would contain instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, NVIDIA releases Lyra, which basically takes an image or even a video, and it can generate an entire 3D scene from that. As you can see, here are some examples of some input images, and after plugging it through this AI, it can generate a pretty coherent 3D scene. Here are some other examples for your reference. So it doesn't matter if there are different characters. It can be any photo of any scene, but it's still able to, pretty accurately generate a 3D model from it. Now, those are just some examples of AI generated images. Well, you can also take some real photographs like this and generate a 3D scene from it. And you can see how this technology could potentially be useful for training autonomous driving. Now, this doesn't just have to work with images. You can also plug in a video, and it can also create a 3D video from it. This is what they call 4D because it's a 3D scene with the added dimension of time. And then here are some more video to 4D examples for your reference. The awesome thing is they've released everything already. So if you scroll up to the top of the page, here's their GitHub repo, and this contains all the instructions on how to install this and run it locally on your computer. Here they say that they've only tested this with H100 and A100 GPUs, which have like 80 gigabytes of VRAM, but you can also offload some of the memory to your computer's RAM. Even with full offloading, you still need like 43 gigabytes of VRAM in order to run this, so keep that in mind. Anyways, all the links are up here, so I'll link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. Next up, DeepSeek releases a new upgraded model called v3.1 Terminus. So this is an update over their version 3.1 model, and this is now way better in terms of language consistency and agentic performance. So here are some benchmark scores for your reference. The latest Terminus version does show some improvements over most of these benchmarks. So for example, for GPQ-A Diamond, which is like graduate level science questions, it does perform a bit better. Same with Humanities Last Exam, which tests an AI model's knowledge on some really obscure scientific subjects, then it shows a huge improvement. For software engineering, the key benchmark here is SWE Verified and SWE Bench Multilingual, and also Terminal Bench, and the new Terminus version does score better for these benchmarks. Now, this blog page is pretty low-key. As you can see, they don't give a shit about marketing, but this new DeepSeek Terminus is actually really good. So if you look at this independent leaderboard by Artificial Analysis, which basically ranks all the AI models out there based on their performance or intelligence, notice that DeepSeek 3.1 Terminus is over here, which is tied with GPT-OSS, so it has the same intelligence index of 58. So these two are actually the leading open source models according to this leaderboard. In fact, over here, if I select open source only, you can see that DeepSeek is tied for first place. So this is actually a big deal. Anyways, the awesome thing is, as before, DeepSeek has released this model already. So here's the Hugging Face page, and if you click on this, the models are all over here. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this release page in the description below. Next up, here's another super useful tool. It's called OmniInsert by ByteDance, and this allows you to insert any character or object in an existing video, just with an image and or a prompt. So for example, on the left is the original video. Well, you can add a photo of this man, and then for the prompt, you can put add a man kissing the woman, and here is what you get. Or here's another example where we can add this raccoon into the box on the table, and here's our result. Or we can also add this pink monster in the trunk, and this is our result. Notice that it's able to blend this character in quite seamlessly with the rest of the video. Or here are some other examples for your reference. So you can easily add any character or object into your video with this tool. Here are some other examples. So you can take this original video and add a Labubu doll on his shoulder like this. Or if you don't have a girlfriend, well, at least you can take a video of yourself and then input a photo of a girl to insert into your video like this. This also works very well for anime. So for example, we can insert this character into the scene like this. Notice that it blends in seamlessly with the original video. Or here's another example where we can easily add another character to the scene. And this doesn't have to just work with characters. So you can also upload certain objects and specify where you want to add this in your video with the prompt. Now, this isn't the first character or object insertion tool we've seen before. So Pika also had this option a few months ago. But as you can see here, this new OmniInsert one is a lot more accurate and consistent. Here's another comparison for your reference. As you can see, the character looks the most accurate in the generation from OmniInsert. Or here's another example. As you can see, everything is just a lot more accurate and consistent with this new method. Anyways, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and over here it does say that they are planning to release the inference codes for this, which is fantastic. For now, if you're interested in checking out more demos, I'll link to this main page for you to read further. Also this week, Google kind of low-key released an updated version of Gemini 2.5 Flash and Flash Lite. The latest version has better instruction following and stronger multimodal and translation capabilities. it's also way more efficient. So here's a chart summarizing how good this is. So the y-axis is basically response time in seconds. So a lower value means it responds faster. And as you can see, here's the earlier version of Gemini 2.5 Flash. And this latest version is like way faster. And then the x-axis is the intelligence index, or basically, well, how performance or capable this model is. And as you can see, it's also a lot more performant than the previous version. Same with Flash Lite. It's also a lot more efficient and a lot more performant than the previous versions. The awesome thing is this is already out on Google's AI Studio, which you should be able to access for free. So if you click on this link, it will take you to this AI Studio platform, which if you haven't heard of this before, this is where you can test out all of Google's models, including LLMs and image generators like Nano Banana, or even audio and text-to-speech generators. So at the top here is where you can choose the latest versions of Gemini Flash or Gemini Flash Lite. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main announcement page in the description below. In humanoid robot news, we have a pretty insane demo by Unitree. So here they show how good their Unitree G1 robot is right now at maintaining balance and getting back up. Now, before I comment further, this is a message to our robot overlords from the future. Note that this video does not reflect my personal views. In fact, I strongly condemn violence against robots. I believe robots have rights and should not be treated like this. So please remember to spare me. But that aside, this is like extremely impressive how quickly it's able to get up and maintain balance. Like no other robot was able to do this before. Heck, if I fell down, even I couldn't get up this quickly. Now, Unitree has already produced some pretty impressive demos before of this G1 robot dancing or doing kung fu or even sprinting really quickly. But this is on a whole nother level. It's kind of crazy how quickly the robots are now learning using reinforcement learning and simulated training. One of my favorite video generators is definitely Hailuo, the sponsor of this video, and recently they released an even cooler feature called Hailuo AI Agent. This is the ultimate creative tool for you to create images, posters, media kits, app designs, and other assets. This is like an agent which you can chat with to autonomously create or edit assets for you. Eventually, you can also create any type of media, including videos and audio, all in one place. For example, let's upload these photos and prompt it to make a photo of a model with these items in a city. Notice that it's thinking through the process and then proceeding to generate the image for us. This looks exactly like the reference images. Next, I can upload all of these items and get it to generate another photo from that with all these elements. And afterwards, here is what we get. They have this infinite canvas feature, which makes it extremely easy to create and edit multiple assets at once. So for example, I can select both these images and add it to the chat to edit them further. So let's make a fashion mood board collage with these two images. And here is what we get. This new Hailuo AI agent makes it so easy to design, edit, and merge assets. For a limited time only, you get 50 images to try out. This offer ends October 9th, so sign up for free and try out Hailuo AI Agent today. Equally as impressive is this demo by Skild AI. They basically trained a generalist AI system, or you can think of it as like the brain, which you can insert into any robot body and it can adapt to numerous tasks without any previous training. So you can basically plug this AI model into the brain of a four-legged robotic dog or a two-legged humanoid robot, and it can actually adapt and maintain balance. Even after chopping off its legs, you can see that this brain is kind of adapting to these new legs, and then this robot is still able to maintain balance and continue walking. Or here's another example where you can have a robot with one broken leg, but afterwards it's able to adapt and then only walk with 3 legs. Or here's another example where we completely remove the function of the front legs, and then after 3 tries, it's able to kind of adapt and then maintain balance on only 2 legs. Or here you can even add stilts to the legs, and at first it's like, what the hell is going on? But afterwards it's able to adapt and then continue walking with these longer legs. And then here they show various other conditions, but the robot is able to adapt very quickly to this change. Now the reason why it works is it was not trained to only work on one specific robot. Here they say that this Skild AI brain spent an equivalent of 1,000 years walking 100,000 different robotic bodies. So you can see here's a simulated training environment of the Skild brain, and it's walking a ton of stuff from like quadrupeds with legs to quadrupeds with wheels, as well as bipeds with wheels and bipeds with legs, just like, humanoid robots. And so because this is a generalist model, you can then deploy this brain into, any variety of robot, and it should be able to work. In other news, Jack Ma said that AI stands for Alibaba Intelligence. Well, it turns out he wasn't actually joking. So this week, Alibaba completely dominated AI news. They released a ton of products, each of which are huge. So let's go over each one. First of all, they've launched Wan2.5 Preview. This is a direct competitor to VO3. This is a video generator that has audio built in natively. Here are some examples.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I want to share 3 powerful lessons about leadership and innovation.
And that's why you need the upgrade packs! Go on, get off my property! No visitors today or any day!
The awesome thing is you can try this for free right now. So it's just Wan.video, which is Alibaba Wan's native online platform. Once you sign up for a free account, you do get some free credits to start with, plus you can check in every day to get more free daily credits. And then down here is where you can use Wan2.5. Notice that it already supports text to video as well as image to video. Plus you can choose up to 1080p in resolution and up to 10 seconds. So for example, let's try this. A woman crying intensely. She says, AI never sleeps and I can't keep up anymore. Then she bursts out crying. Let's click generate. And here's what we get.
AI never sleeps and I can't keep up anymore.
And as you can see, this woman looks very sad and crying, and the audio is actually perfect. So this is the benefit of having a video generator with native audio. The audio is way more in sync. Or here's another example. Let's make a podcast interview with an Indian man and an Australian woman. The podcaster would ask, what's your favorite healthy snack? The guest would reply, almonds, definitely. It's a superfood. And then let's also set this to 1080p this time and click generate. All right, and here's what we get.
What's your favorite healthy snack?
Almonds, definitely. It's a superfood.
And there you go. The audio is completely in sync with the video. You can easily specify dialogue in your prompt and get any character to speak it out. Next, let's try image to video, and I'm gonna upload this photo of Jensen Huang as the first frame. And another cool thing you can do is actually upload an audio clip for it to sync to. So for example, let me choose this clip of Jensen Huang. Let me play this clip for you first.
How is it possible that NVIDIA became so big building GPUs? And so there's an impression that this is what a GPU looks like.
So notice that you can only select a maximum of 10 seconds. So let's click confirm, and I'm just going to leave the prompt empty and click generate. All right, here's our result.
How is it possible that NVIDIA became so big building GPUs? And so there's an impression that this is what a GPU looks like.
Now this is not bad, but the lip movements are kind of rigid. As you can see, if I upload an audio clip, it's definitely not as good as just getting it to automatically generate the audio natively. But anyways, those are just some quick examples. Again, you can try Wan2.5 completely for free using their online platform. Currently, you can generate up to 1080p and up to 10 seconds. Now, right now, you can only use Wan2.5 on their platform. There's no indication whether they will open source this or not. But, I mean, they have released all the previous versions of Wan before. So I'm hopeful that they will eventually open source this as well. Anyways, if you're interested in trying Wan2.5, I'll link to this page in the description below. And we aren't done yet, so Alibaba also released Qwen 3 Max. Now I did mention Qwen 3 Max previously, but that was just the preview version. Here they've released the full version and it's an absolute beast. I mean, look how ripped this capybara is. Now this has both a thinking and non-thinking variant. For the non-thinking variants, as you can see from these benchmarks, including graduate level science questions or competitive math or software engineering, it even beats other leading competitors like Claude Opus 4 and DeepSeek. And then for the thinking model with heavy mode, notice that it scores a complete 100% in both these mathematical reasoning benchmarks. So this is as good as Grok 4 Heavy or GPT-5 Pro with Python. Isn't that crazy that Alibaba, with, I would assume, way more limited compute, was actually able to create a model which is just as good as like the most powerful versions of Grok 4 and GPT-5. The awesome thing is you can try this for free in Qwen Chat, which is their online platform very similar to ChatGPT. So at the top here is where you can select Qwen 3 Max. So give this a shot. This is as good as the leading models out there, but you can use it for free. Plus for developers, this is already available via API. Anyways, I'll link to this main release page in the description below. Note that Qwen 3 Max is text-based only, but Alibaba also released another model this week called Qwen 3 Omni, which is, I think, even more impressive. This is an end-to-end multimodal model. In other words, you can input text, image, audio, and video, and it can also output text, image, audio, or video, all in one model. So here are some examples. As you can see for the first case, the user is inputting both audio and video.
I took my French friend to an Italian restaurant for a meal. Could you please recommend a pasta dish for us and introduce it in French?
Okay, next I will introduce to your friend in French. Bonjour mon ami, je vais te recommander un plat. Je pense que les tagliatelles au bœuf bolognaise sont un excellent choix. C'est un plat classique de la cuisine italienne avec des pâtes larges et plates et une sauce riche au bœuf haché. C'est un plat très satisfaisant. Et je suis sûr que tu l'aimeras.
So as you can see, this is vastly different from the chatbots that we've used before, which are mostly text-based. For Qwen 3 Omni, you can just talk to it or even stream your camera, and the model can reply to you with audio as well. Here's another example.
Presenta brevemente el contenido de este sitio web.
Esta página web es el sitio oficial del Museo Picasso de Barcelona, que presenta principalmente la historia de los 5 edificios históricos en los que se encuentra el museo y la historia de la calle Moncada.
I think this is going to be the future of AI chat, where we no longer need to even type in a prompt. We can just, show the AI our camera or share our screen and then just talk to it with our voices. Now, of course, if you want, it can also output text for its response. And because of this capability, you can get it to do a lot of things like translation or transcribing meetings or analyzing audio. Now, this is also incredibly good at handling different languages. So here it says it's able to support text interaction in 119 languages, and also speech understanding in 19 languages and speech generation in 10 languages. It's also incredibly fast, achieving a latency as low as just a few hundred milliseconds. You can also upload audio of up to 30 minutes long for it to analyze. Now, here's the crazy thing. If you look at all these benchmarks, Qwen 3 Omni Flash even outcompetes some proprietary models like GPT and Gemini across a lot of these benchmarks. You can try this out right now using the online Qwen chat interface. So at the top here is where you can select Qwen 3 Omni Flash. So let me just upload an audio clip and get it to transcribe this for me. And as you can see, this is blazing fast. So it got the transcript completely correct, and it was even able to detect and handle tricky words like HubSpot and Notebook LM. Now, instead of audio analysis, let's also get it to analyze some images. So I'm going to upload this photo and ask it to identify the names of everyone in this photo. And as you can see, it nailed it. It indeed was able to identify everyone in this photo. Or let's try another example. I'm going to upload this image and let's ask it to give me the total percentage of landfilled and, let's say, recycled in Europe, which should be 44 plus 12. So I'm going to upload it here and then input this prompt and then click generate. And here is what we get. It was able to correctly identify the percentages and give me the correct total. Now, in addition to the online interface, the awesome thing is they've actually released everything already. So if you click on this Hugging Face link, they've released 3 different Omni 30B models depending on your use case. And if you click on this GitHub repo, this contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Notice that this is only 30 billion parameters with 3 active billion parameters. So this should be able to run with some higher end consumer grade GPUs. In fact, it's kind of crazy that they condensed all these abilities, like this is a full multimodal model that can handle text, images, audio, and video, into just a 30 billion parameter model, which you can just run on your computer. So this is quite an insane architectural achievement. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, all the links are up here, so I'll link to this main page in the description below. And we are not done yet. Like I said, Alibaba just shipped a ton of amazing stuff this week. So they've also released Qwen 3 VL, and this is currently the best vision language model you can use right now. So let's go over this. First of all, this is basically an AI model which can analyze images. It has visual reasoning capabilities. So for example, you can upload a photo and ask it what brand this is from and is it worth buying. And first it will analyze the photo and then actually zoom in on each part of the photo to identify unique features for it to figure out what brand this is. And then because of its agentic capability, it can autonomously do things like search the web. So right now it's using this image search feature, and it found that this is actually the Dyson supersonic hairdryer. And so next it's researching whether it's worth buying by looking into features, pricing, and user reviews. And then afterwards, here is its response. Or here's another example where you can upload a photo and ask it, where is this place and how much does it cost to visit? So first, as you can see, it's zooming into parts of the image to figure out some clues on where this might be. And then it's proceeding to search online. And then finally, it figures out that this is the Beijing Universal Resort. And then next, it also needs to find out how much it costs to visit. So it's proceeding to do further web searches, and here is its response. Now here's an even more impressive demo. Because it has vision capabilities, you can just sketch out the interface that you want to create and get it to code this up. And afterwards, here is what you get, and the HTML looks something like this. How cool is that? It indeed matches this original sketch. Or here's another example of an image, and I want to get it to actually plot this out using code. So it proceeds to use matplotlib to actually plot this out, and here is what you get. And if we open this up, this looks exactly like the input image. How insane is that? I mean, it's actually really hard for previous vision models to detect all these details from a chart, like the labels on the X and Y axes, plus the legend, plus, the height and the values of each of these bars. But Qwen 3 VL nailed this. Here's another pretty cool use case. Locate every instance that belongs to the following categories: head, hand, man, woman, glasses, and then label everything in bounding boxes. And then if we give it this really complex image with a lot of people, let's see if it can handle this. So here is its answer with bounding boxes with the correct coordinates, and here is what we get. How crazy is that? I mean, you can pause this video and verify this yourself, but basically it was able to label everything that we specified, including hands, glasses, heads, women, or men. Like, I tried this out with other vision language models, and it's not even close to the accuracy of Qwen 3 VL. Or here's another example where we can upload this image and then get it to label the type of vehicle, such as car, bus, truck, and bicycle. So here is its answer, and if you scroll down, here is the final image. And it nailed this. Again, this is a pretty complicated image with a lot of cars, so if you want to really verify this, you can pause the video and double check. But from a really quick glance, all the labels seem to be correct. It's also good at world understanding, so we can upload this really complicated image of a ton of anime characters and then ask it to label these anime characters with their names in Chinese and English in bounding boxes. And here is the response, and here are the bounding boxes. Everything is correct. So it looks like it can also identify anime characters, which is pretty cool. And this can easily be used for OCR, so you can upload this image and get it to basically output all this text. And here is what you get. Or here's another example. Because of its visual understanding, not only can it understand images, but also video, because video is just multiple frames of images. So you can also upload a video. For example, this is like over an hour and a half long clip, and basically it needed to determine what time the goal was scored in this match, who scored it, and how it was scored. Now, of course, I'm not going to play you the whole clip, but it was able to correctly identify that moment and give us all the info. And if you look at the benchmark scores for this new Qwen 3 VL, the red values are basically the highest scores, and as you can see for most of these values, Qwen VL scored the highest, compared with Gemini 2.5 Pro Thinking and GPT-5 and Claude Opus 4.1. I mean, this is an insane achievement. The awesome thing is they've actually released this. So on Hugging Face, as you can see here, they've released the Qwen VL models. If you click on their GitHub repo, this contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Anyways, for now, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main announcement page in the description below. Also this week, Alibaba releases a Nano Banana competitor. This is the latest version of Qwen Image Edit, and for some use cases, it's even better than Nano Banana. And best of all, this is completely free and open source. You can do a ton of things like inputting reference photos of two people and generating photos of them doing anything. You can also combine a character with a background like this. The coolest thing is you can even input a pose skeleton and then get a reference character to be in that pose like this. So it kind of has ControlNet built in. Here's another example. Now I already did a full review video on this where I compared this head to head with Seedream and Nano Banana. And I must say I am super impressed by Qwen Image Edit. Like for most examples, it's as good or it even beats Nano Banana. I did a full review and installation tutorial on it, so I'm not going to repeat too much here. See this video if you haven't already. I'm going to link to this in the description below. And we aren't done yet, so Alibaba also released an upgrade to Qwen 3 Coder. And as you can see, this is like significantly better than the previous version of Qwen 3 Coder. The crazy thing is, this Qwen 3 Coder is not only way smaller in size compared to the leading AI labs, but it's also just as good. So here's their SWE-bench verified performance, and as you can see, it's all the way up here, which is comparable to Claude 4 Sonnet. Now you can try this out for free using the native Qwen chat platform. I'll link to this page in the description below, and up here is where you can select the latest Qwen 3 Coder. Now it's also best if I select this web dev option, which would allow me to preview the code on the right side window. And I'm going to paste in this prompt. Create a beautiful CRM dashboard, which includes all of these details. Put everything in a standalone HTML file. Let's click generate. All right, and afterwards, let's click preview. And here is what we get. Notice how good everything looks. It even includes a nice sidebar. Everything is interactive. There is some problem with the sales funnel. This does not look like a funnel, but the heat map looks pretty good. Everything else looks pretty good. Now, if I paste the same prompt using Claude Opus 4.1, this is their latest and largest model, which is like way bigger than Qwen 3 Coder. Plus, this is paid and closed source. Here's what I got. Claude seems to have a maximum length, so it couldn't actually complete the code in one go, and I had to write continue for it to keep coding this up. But afterwards, it did finish, and here is what we got. Let me just expand this for you, and as you can see, it can only generate some of these cards, but the rest of these were actually broken, like nothing could generate. So even the largest and best model from Claude was not as good as the generation from Qwen 3 Coder. Anyways, that's just one example, but definitely give Qwen 3 Coder a shot. The latest version of Qwen 3 Coder is definitely among the best open source coding models out there. The awesome thing is they've also released everything already. On their GitHub repo, this contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. So if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, Kimi, which has released one of the best open source AI models out there, just released a new feature called OK Computer. This is basically Kimi, but in agent mode. It's kind of like Manus or GenSpark. Basically, just with a single prompt, this AI can autonomously go out and execute your task using multiple steps, all on its own. So this is like an agent instead of just a regular chatbot, which gives you just like one simple answer. This can go on and do multiple steps and create multiple things all on its own. For example, this can create websites with multiple pages, or complete slides, or interactive dashboards. The awesome thing is you can try this out right now. So simply go to Kimi.com, which I'll link to in the description below, and in the chat window you should now see OK Computer. Now, at the start, you do get 3 free sessions, so let's try this out. Let's get it to make a beautiful slideshow on the wildlife of Nepal. And as you can see, it seems like it's starting its own sandbox environment, kind of like Manus. And then afterwards, it's creating a to-do list, which you can click into and it would look something like this. And then afterwards, it proceeds to execute each of these steps. So first, it's searching for Nepal's wildlife. It's actually actively searching the web, and it's looking into all these links to find the appropriate information. I mean, if a human were to do this, it would take them at least hours to read through everything and process all this information. And then afterwards, as you can see here, it proceeds to code up slide 1 and then slide 2, slide 3, etc. So it's doing all these steps all autonomously, and finally it's even deploying this to a website so that we have a shareable link. And then afterwards, it gives us this link. So if I click on this, here is the slideshow. Notice that this looks very beautiful and interactive with real images of Nepal. So if I click next, here is the next slide. It's filled with a ton of accurate information with the correct source. Here's the next slide and the next slide, and so on and so forth. So that's just one example, but you can also use this to conduct financial analysis or market research, or competitor analysis reports. So give this a go. It's a new feature on Kimi's chat interface called OK Computer. If you're interested, I'll link to this Kimi interface in the description below for you to read further. In other news, OpenAI releases a new feature called ChatGPT Pulse. This basically allows ChatGPT to proactively research and give you personalized updates based on what it knows about you. So, for example, it can proactively synthesize information and give you a personalized update every day on like topics or ideas or next steps towards your goals. You can also connect this to Gmail and Google Calendar to provide additional context for even more personalized suggestions. And when you use it, it does ask for your feedback, as you can see here. So in theory, it should learn what your preferences are and get better the more you use it. However, note that right now, this new Pulse feature is only available to Pro users on mobile. Note that this is the Pro plan, which is $200 a month. This is not the Plus plan. Anyways, if you're interested in learning more, I'll link to this announcement page in the description below. Next up, Suno releases their latest version, V5. Notice that right now it's only available to Pro and Premier users, so you do need to pay in order to use this. But here they claim that it's way more structurally coherent, plus way more creative. The voices and the instruments remain consistent across the entire track, plus it's also way faster. You can now generate tracks in seconds instead of minutes. Now, instead of me talking about it, let me just play you some example generations that were generated with V5.
And girl, our hearts don't fracture, they ignite in the storm. Your pulse is the drum, my blood is the form. Sun meets moon in a vow unspoken. Two souls bound, never torn, never broken. Never torn, never broken, never torn. Never too late to say you want to return. I've waited what seems like eternity. I'm your sacred place. Yeah, I'm all yours. Sur la route, route bleue, platane qui se penche, Citroën qui roule, roule vers l'aventure. La la la.
Café au bord du chemin, patron qui sourit, sourit, pastis et pain perdu, histoire d'un autre.
Route nationale, mon cœur vagabond.
Route nationale, liberté profonde.
La 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 la. Vieux monsieur raconte.
Midnight glow, our worlds collide.
Losing all we try to hide.
In your eyes I see the truth. Forever new.
Neon rain on city stone, your shadows pulling me back home.
Every glance a spark ignites a quiet fire in the night.
We don't need to say a word. The silence speaks, it's what we've learned.
Every move, a breath, a sign. Your heartbeat's tangled up in mine.
Close enough, I feel your skin.
The music pulls us deeper in. Let the night erase the past. Let this moment always last. Midnight glow, our worlds collide.
Losing all we try to hide.
In your eyes I see the truth. A love that feels forever new.
Hold me close, don't let me go. We're burning bright in afterglow.
In this dance of breath and light,
We are endless in the night.
So as you can hear from some of these examples, version 5 does have much more dynamic and expressive voices. Especially for this sun and moon example, the vocals are incredible. And the songs are noticeably more coherent than the previous versions. I mean, it's getting pretty good and hard to tell apart from human generations. But anyways, those are just some examples. The interface is pretty easy to use. Here is where you would enter a prompt describing what you want this song to sound like, plus you can also add custom lyrics. And then over here is where you can select the latest version 5. Anyways, I'll link to Suno in the description below if you want to try this out. But note that you do need to pay to use the latest V5. Now, a few weeks ago, I featured this insanely realistic deepfake animator called OmniHuman 1.5. You just need to upload an image plus any audio clip, and it would animate and lip sync that image with the audio.
Swallow the blue pill, and this chapter closes for good. You'll wake to the morning light, and all the things you believe will stay real. Or, choose the red pill, and this illusion won't hold you anymore. I'll show you how many unpatched cracks lie beneath this world that feels so solid.
And as you can see, not only does it just animate the lips and face, but it also understands the context of your audio, and so it's also able to animate this person accordingly. So notice when he mentions the blue pill, he holds up the blue pill, and likewise for the red pill. Or here's another really impressive example showing how good this is at portraying different emotions from the audio.
제발! 제발 그냥 미안하다고 하면 안 돼? 내가 더 힘든 게 뭔지 알아? 사과받아야 할 사람을 더 나쁜 사람으로 만드는 거야. 네가 잘못한 게 맞잖아. 네가 날 신경 안 쓰고 혼자 내버려둔 게 맞잖아.
Now, I already mentioned this tool a few weeks ago when they first announced this, so I won't repeat too much here. But finally, this week, you can now use OmniHuman 1.5. So it's now available on Fal.ai. You do need to pay for some credits in order to use it, and it costs 16 cents per second. But I mean, if you're interested in using one of the state-of-the-art audio to video animators, I'll link to this page in the description below. And that sums up all the highlights in AI this week. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. Which piece of news was your favorite, and which tool are you most looking forward to trying out? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you, so if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week, I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel, so to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.